And hello, everyone, and a very happy Friday to everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And today is my first day in trying to kind of migrate the chat primarily over to my new Rumble channel. Um, so let me just take a moment and let you guys know what's going on just logistically here as McDuff Lives is making what's really going to be a kind of a big move because you know, Facebook, I've been on Facebook now for about 4 or 5 years, I guess 4 years. I mean, YouTube, not Facebook. And YouTube has been just very difficult for me. Lost my first channel, McDuff, Kennedy's Man to Smash the CIA, when it had over 12,000 subscribers. And that was very, very devastating for our channel. And we also, of course, got demonetized, which has never come back. So in other words, we kept pushing the truth out there, working with George and others to try to make sure that the truth wasn't buried, even though it might have cost us our YouTube channels. And not me, many people, hundreds, maybe thousands of people have made that sacrifice. And I'm glad I did it, but it's still, there's 900 videos that are not being seen now because they just took it down. Well, I've gone on to create McDuff Lives 1 and McDuff Lives 2 and McDuff Lives 3 on YouTube, and they're all still up there, but they keep getting strikes. And, lately it's become just ridiculous because I don't think that there was any justification for the last couple of strikes. Perhaps, you could argue that it violated their terms of service if you really stretch it some way, but it's just ridiculous to try to, jump higher and higher and higher to try to meet their standard, and you're never going to get there. And that's the truth about this corporate world entirely is that they're not going to allow reason or critical thinking to get in the way of their pre-programmed ideas of how to shape our thoughts. So that's YouTube. And, again, right now on McDuff Lives One, which is my primary YouTube channel, 7,500 or so subscribers there, it's in great jeopardy right now. We have two pending strikes, and it's just too shaky for me to continue over there. So I am broadcasting this morning on backup channel McDuff Lives 2 on YouTube. And the reason for that is because YouTube is a great platform, and it's very easy for people to find me and to see what we're doing. And I also don't want to lose the audience entirely. But if you are on McDuff Lives 2 on YouTube, um, try to get signed up over at Rumble. It's just rumble.com, and you can get yourself uh, just an ID. You don't have to create a channel. You just become a person or a person, a digital person on Rumble, and you can then surf different channels just like you do on YouTube. And it's really coming along. I don't think it's got anywhere near the features that YouTube has, but on the other hand, it doesn't have the criticism. It doesn't have those automatic censorship programs and automatic, people that are going to just, scrutinize everything you do, hoping to try to find a way to give you another strike. So I feel pretty free on Rumble, and that's why I'm encouraging folks to join me over there. When you get on Rumble, there are actually two McDuff Lives channels. One of them is all one word, and that's where we broadcast. The other one was an older channel that I haven't figured out how to merge them yet. So bear with me as I try to smooth that out. But McDuff Lives, all one word, is where to find my live channel. And this is where I'm going to be producing my major productions, my minefields, and everything else here going forward, because I need to build this audience here. We have now got on Rumble 170 subscribers, and has got to grow because we are looking to get back up to our 7,500 level at least and go from there. Been really excited to make a lot of great new contacts, and Courtney Turner last night was just terrific. She's a very, very vibrant and energetic podcaster. She's living in Nashville, Tennessee right now, producing all kinds of work, and has done a great deal of research herself in a fairly short time. Fascinating story that she has as the effect of um, the masks on a person who is deaf or was born deaf. uh, it's incredible that there hadn't been any type of accommodation made for people who rely on lip reading to understand what others are saying, and that's her situation. And then the hostile environment in California where she was living drove her to leave the state and move to Tennessee, where I think she's found a home, and she's really thriving there with her podcast. So CourtneyTurner.com, recommend you check her out. And the two shows she did with me this past week and last night. Also had Riley Wagaman on yesterday for the first time in 6 months. Really detailed and interesting account of what's going on, not only in Tbilisi, Georgia, where he's now living, but what's going on with Putin and Moscow, and to what extent should we look at the China Russia BRICS idea as something that's actually going to save our freedom? And that is a very important question. So I really recommend you check that out. And Riley's Substack under the name Edward Slav Squat spells it out in writing. It's a very important topic, and something, once again, you will not find on the mainstream media. You won't hear Riley Wagaman talking to CNN, but they should listen to him, and so should we. Um, Mark Kulak is going to be back with me next Wednesday with David Underdown to dig into the Sackler family, the issue of fentanyl, and what's going on to take over our country in that perspective. The dramatic increase in fentanyl deaths and the financing behind it. That'll be Wednesday, our Wednesday trio next Wednesday, which I think is the 29th of March. So be sure and tune in for that. I'll be um, doing my minefields next week. I hadn't had a chance to do a minefields yet on Rumble, so that'll be fun. And a whole lot of other new stuff. I still get to know a whole lot more people. It's very, very good for me, for my spirit, to keep expanding the reach of the show. So do what you can to help me reach out to other people. And again, it's going to be difficult because Rumble is not familiar to a lot of people, but it's not difficult at all. If you just go to Rumble and get started, you'll find our channel. It's just McDuff is all one word. Well, now let me see how you guys are doing. We are at the chat room on Rumble, and let's see. Okay, so Rob TK is here, says good morning. Corky is here. Hey, Corky. And Detaz is here. Hello, hello, Rumblers, and hello, Detaz. Thank you for joining us. Tennessee, absolutely a good choice. Um, YouTube says, Corky says, children treating adults like children. Yeah. All right. Forgive me for a second. I'm just looking over at the video on the Rumble channel just because I need to learn how to adjust to any delays that happen and things like that. Okay, and ECAT has joined us on the live chat on Rumble. Welcome, ECAT. Thank you very much for coming over to Rumble to check in with us this morning. Well, Prince of Peace ginger honey crystals is my choice this morning, as many mornings here at McDuff Lives. Prince of Peace, your brand for ginger honey crystals. Make some nice hot tea, and it'll set your day off just right. The idea that our entire lives we've been living in a kind of a fake news environment. Everything has been shaped for our mental consumption so as to shape our thoughts and to give us various ideas that they want us to continue to hold in our brains, such as the idea that communism is going to take over the world if we don't stop it. That was a big one. It made them a whole lot of money. The idea of America being the only leader in democracy in the world, and that what we're doing in the world is spreading democracy. That's one of the big lies. And so many horrible wars. And I think we should talk about the idea of limited war, because that's what we are experiencing right now. If you compare World War II, where we were firebombing cities and, killing wantonly, killing all the population of the enemy. Look what we did to Tokyo with the fire bombs. Look what we did to Dresden with the fire bombs. Look at what we did to Hanover and so many of the uh, urban cities. It's almost as if we were trying to wipe out the civilian population of these enemy countries so that they couldn't make the war materiel to support the war effort. It's almost as if we were going to war against the entire civilization of Germany, Japan, and even Italy. But that's not what we're doing now. We're engaged in limited warfare. And that means that there's still rules. You know, you don't use your nuclear weapons. That's a rule. Other than what I think, is an obvious exception with the Ukrainian bombing of civilian areas in the Donbass, and particularly the city of Donetsk, which has been under assault since 2014 with Ukrainian artillery bombing civilian areas. Other than that, there's not been a lot of attacks on civilians, and they're not actually bragging about having done it. They're just doing it. Whereas, in the World War II scenario, the only good Jap was a dead Jap. Excuse my language. That's not me speaking. That's just me characterizing the mental attitude. For instance, my uncle CG, my mother's brother, he was U.S. Army Air Force in the war. And he told me one day that could not to this day be around Japanese people because it just made him so anxious and angry. And that, of course, is a result of the psychological campaign to demonize our enemies. And that psychological campaign of demonizing enemies, that's been the professional job of the Tavistock Institute, the Council of Foreign Relations, all of the Madison Avenue, um, Wall Street related public relations firms, as they now call the propaganda business. And we even hear these horror stories, especially the Ukrainians describing what the Russians do, in the same terms that were used to describe what the Huns, the evil German Huns, did in World War I to the poor innocent Belgian civilians, and that was to actually take babies and kill them with pikes and be proud of it. March around with it. It's That's the posters. You can see those posters, and of course that comes right out of Shakespeare in Henry V when he's telling the mayor of Harfleur, you have to yield now. If you don't yield now, then we're going to let loose our soldiers. And you know what soldiers do, you know? They'll rape your daughters and they will spit your babies on pikes. Yeah, that's what Shakespeare said that Henry V told to the town. And, as a result of that threat, the town surrendered. Well, that's not just a threat. They were doing those things in the Middle Ages, and maybe they're still doing them now. But what's really the effect of it is the psychological effect upon the listener that hears that horrible story and says, "Oh my God, that enemy, they are not human. These are inhuman monsters, and we have to extinguish them from the planet Earth." And that, of course, leads to genocide. But how does it all start? But with propaganda, lies, and the restriction of facts in what's otherwise called the news. All right, well, I'm looking at the live chat in Rumble, and now I'm going to scoot back over to see what's happening in the live chat at McDuff Lives 2 on YouTube. Hey, Jimmy Beam is here on YouTube. John, I'm beginning to wonder what is truly real now. Confusing is taking over. Isn't that true? And that business of confusion is what they want because, you know, if you are totally confused, you lose your sense of what's right and wrong. You lose your sense of how can you live in the future when you don't know what the rules are? What what is civility anymore? What are the norms of interacting with other people? There's a lot of subjects that you can't have a civil conversation on right now because people are so emotionally caught up in it. And my point is that emotional tinge that you feel when somebody says something you really don't want to hear, you don't want to agree with it, you don't want to argue with it, you just want to push them away. And that's what I feel from some of my, deepest, oldest friends when I try to tell them what's going on. And, you know, maybe I am wrong, but at least you could listen. At least you could argue with me if I'm wrong. No, just they've done this psychological operation so well that people are more comfortable staying divided than they are trying to work it out through reason and critical thinking and, civil conversation. Jimmy Beam says, I love Professor Hamamoto. And I do too. And he'll be back on Thursday next week. He was very happy to watch the show last night. And of course, he's a great expert on things Tavistock related himself. Um, Maybe we could get him and Courtney together sometime. I think that would be a productive way to go forward. So happy to have another great session with Harley Schlanger this past week, and his emphasis, of course, has been on the financial side of things and how we are now facing this precipice financially that we're going to have to either enforce a Glass-Steagall uh, resolution through Congress so that the banks are then reorganized into the way they were supposed to be under FDR's Glass-Steagall Act in 1933, which was overturned, 10, 15 years ago. I don't remember the details, but it just let everything mingle together, whether these are solid investments in productive activity or speculative investments in currency or derivative trading. And of course, we know what happened is the derivative trading took off. And now the derivatives have a value of many, many times worth more than the actual value of goods and services in our economy. And that can't last. That can't be sustained. So the solution is, well, there are actually a 10-point program proposed by Helga Zepp-LaRouche, which is published on their Schiller Institute website. I've read it. I think it's good. I endorse it. As far as the economics of it, I think that the Schiller folks and Schiller and LaRouche, basically the same organization, are on the right track. But it's going to take a lot of courage to face up to those people that own those derivatives, thinking that they have real money in their hands, which in fact, here's very simple, right? Who is holding the fiat currency? Is it us with our dollars that we've spent our lives building up into value? Or is it them holding their derivative papers? Isn't that's the fight. It's between them and us. If their derivative paper turns out to be really worth what it says on its face value, and they can actually find a way to suck that value out of this tiny remnant of economy that's left, as I say, if you want to get 10 times the value out of anything, you're going to have to squeeze it really, really hard. And that means we're looking to be turned into serfs and used like slaves in the future if we let them win. The ones that are holding the derivatives, the trillions and trillions of dollars that they think they own, they're going to have to be the ones that are holding the fiat currency. You know, we should not we should not have to give up our dollars. We should not have to give up the value that we have invested in our lives and careers, reputations, families, everything that we've put into building up the United States has gone into building up the dollar. And everything that they have done since World War II has been a scheme to diminish our ability to hold on to the values that we've built up. And what have they done? They have inflated the dollar over and over and over and over again. Well, that's not just a loss to us, that's a huge gain to them. The ones that have the real assets, the gold and the platinum mines and all the old commercial paper from, back in the 19th century, still paying interest, still getting those dividends on those rentier properties that the nobility and, the upper aristocracy still own. What is it? Queen Elizabeth at her death owned, a certain large percentage of all the usable land on the planet. And, nobody talks about that. Hello, AK Sangma, joining us on McDuff Lives 2 on YouTube. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. And Corky says America is super, but run by greed. It's sad. Yeah, it shouldn't be. We can fix it, but we got a big job to do. Laura Willingham, good morning to you. Sorry to have missed this so far. Oh, well, we're glad to have you here, Laura. And the main theme I'm doing today is try to let people know it's very easy to get on Rumble. Just go over there and you'll find my channel. It's McDuff Lives, all one word, and that is where I'm going to have a look at the chat to see what we have. Okay, I don't know if I can. I don't know if there's any way I can add the chat from Rumble up on the screen, but anyway, we're learning as we go. Rob TK says this is going to take centuries to fix, and you are right about that, Rob. Let's see. No, I don't think I have the ability to put the Rumble comments on the screen, and that's one of the differences that Rumble just doesn't have. Hopefully, they'll have it soon. I think they are definitely growing. I know they're growing, and I'm delighted to be part of that. So, thank you for joining us. Uh, Whether you're on Facebook, Rumble, McDuff Lives, or monitoring on my Twitter feed, I'm so glad to have you. And again, we are trying to spread the word that we're moving our main productions to our Rumble channel, which is McDuff Lives, all one word. I'm going to start doing exclusives. Probably still, Facebook has not bothered me. I've said an awful lot of things that YouTube has given me strikes for, but Facebook hasn't bothered me a bit. So I'm really encouraged. The Facebook audience is building, and I will not be taking that channel down. I'm going to stay on Facebook as long as they are willing to have me, because it is a great resource as well. It's as good as YouTube. It's not. It's never been my primary source for live streaming because I've just started on YouTube, and that's the way it's been. But as I get settled here at Rumble, I'll be have some time to look into how I can enhance the Facebook audience as well. My New Year's resolution was to have a bigger voice in this discussion in the nation and in the world. I really think that after the studies I've done and with what I know about my father's career, I do have important information to share, and I want to make sure that we have our platforms to do it. So thank you for cooperating and for spreading the word. Um, Let me see on McDuff Lives, we have 153 people following, and thank you, each one of you. And however, we need more. We need a lot more. We need to get into the thousands so that this chat is really solid on Rumble. And it's only then that I'm going to be able to really let go of the YouTube channel. I just can't see dropping all presence on YouTube because it just has such a big reach. That's my opinion. But it's stressful, It's stressful to know that they've got these robots watching every word, trying to find some excuse to give you that third strike, take you off the channel entirely. That's where Professor Hamamoto's been stuck, by the way. He's in YouTube jail, and but he'll be with me next Thursday, the 30th of March, at 8 p.m. And he's feeling fine, other than other than fit to be tied over YouTube, giving him strikes. I think we're doing all right. He said he's thinking about following me over to Rumble, and I think that would be a good move. Everybody that's on Rumble that I've talked to so far that said, just go with Rumble. Don't worry about YouTube anymore. It's not, you'll be fine on Rumble. So, and I believe it, especially with your help as we try to spread the word. Excuse me a second. Corky in the Rumble chat says it's a new day for me when Chat GTP is discussing cold fusion. Super stoked. And of course, I'm not on. I don't know what Chat GTP is. I haven't checked into that. Um, and there's some new stuff coming out all the time. I'm not on Messenger either. I actually did have a channel there, but I I don't have time to monitor more than what I'm doing. That's another thing about Rumble is it always takes me about 15 or 20 minutes to get the show set up on Rumble because a lot of things that are automated on Facebook and YouTube are not automated on Rumble yet. So you have to it's 10 or 12 different keystrokes to get your show started for the live stream. They just started live streaming about a year ago though at Rumble, so it's a new project for them. And once again, I'm with them. I'm betting on Rumble. And here we have a comment on our McDuff Lives 2 on YouTube from Laura, who says, I actually prefer YouTube due to the chat ease versus Rumbles. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. But again, if I'm going to be worried about getting a strike just because I say a certain word, and can't take it back. So I didn't mean to say that. Oh, sorry, too late, strike three, you lose all whatever 300 some videos I have on McDuff Lives one on YouTube. So it's a it's a difficult choice, but that's why I'm asking you to put up with the difficulties of Rumble because again, freedom. What's the price of freedom? It's priceless. Okay, and I just went over to Rumble to say hello to Rumblers. Hello, my Rumbler friends, and thank you for being with me, and thanks for making the move over to the live chat, which is right next to the screen on the Rumble version of the show. The video on Rumble it looks like about half a it looks like about maybe a second or two delay, maybe 3-second delay. Interesting. Not important though. ECAT says, I think you have to copy and paste Rumble chat into YouTube chat. Hmm. I wonder how could you do that? I wonder. Okay, I just copied and pasted all the chat from Rumble over into YouTube, and it all came into one. Uh, Oh, Peter has worked something out. Okay, I'll ask Peter how he does it. Yeah, okay. One at a time, he takes each chat and puts it up there one at a time, I guess. Well, that would be tedious. That would be tedious. Well, we're going to do exclusive Rumble, and well, of course, we'll keep the Facebook up and probably keep up McDuff Lives too, uh, just to keep in touch with everybody, um, especially when we start talking about issues involving, what Mark Kulak has been concentrating on, and that, meaning the medical approach to uh, viruses and the coronavirus issue, and then talking a lot about, how this has happened, how this has developed. I tell you, I really love to watch Giga Ohm Biological. Now he is on Twitch. His name is JJ Cooey, and you can Couey. And if you haven't found him yet, I really think you should. He's a biologist, a very highly uh, educated and top flight thinker, in my opinion, who has applied his knowledge and experience to this question, and is, what he's come up with goes very well with what Dennis Rancourt has come up with regard to analyzing all-cause death statistics. And the synthesis of his work, Mark's work, a number of the other ones who I can't name them all. I think Kevin McKernan should be named. Uh, a number of other folks that Mark has turned me on to are coming together with a real solid synthesis of ideas that explains, the past 3 years much better than any of the narratives that they've been trying to feed us. Oh, he has a producer with him. Yeah. Boy, if I could get drummer to come over here and do little things like that for me, but I I like running it by myself, but she would be so helpful if we'll see if I can entice her somehow to come here and do some production with me on the up here on the production table. Uh, but I love Marcia's voice. She's got a great voice for anything, and she has experience, a lot of experience in radio. So more I can bring her in. That's drummer, of course, to our production. I'd be happy to have her. But that's the idea is at some point you have to have two people running it. If you get more complicated than that, the whole thing can just turn into too much of a headache and you get discouraged. But I am enjoying it. Let's see. I'm going to take this comment here from Ezra Goddard. Good morning and hello, Ezra. Please keep YouTube, John. Don't let them take this away from us. We can do the dance. The reach is important. Exactly why they are trying to take down TikTok. Widespread communication of patriots. IMO. Well, yeah, yeah. But, I might not have a choice, because if you say certain words on YouTube, and you've got two strikes, then third strike and you're gone, and you don't get another chance. You have to start if you want to start a new channel, but that's what I've done 3, 4 times now. and each one of them has gotten strikes. And it's just because, I say certain things and they interpret it as, quote, medical misinformation. If you say something, you know, then their AI assistant or some troll picks it up and says, "Hey, that was medical misinformation." No, it wasn't. But you can't argue with them. They once they decide that's what it is, that's what it is. That's the rules. That's called a rules-based order. In case you don't know what a rules-based order is, it's the kind of a order in which you get to make all the rules. And that's what they run in these fascist organizations like YouTube. And Corky Goss, we want drummer. What a dream team. Ah, yeah, I know it is a dream team. And Peter takes the stream down off of YouTube after it streams. And yeah, that's smart. That I did that on my, I about 2 weeks ago, I had a show with Mark Kulak, which I knew was going to be too hot for YouTube. So I immediately, well, as soon as got it copied up to BitChute, so I'd have a copy, I went in and I shortened it down to just the first 5 minutes or so. And then I said, I'm taking the rest of it down. You got to watch it on Rumble or BitChute. Now, a word about BitChute, just so you understand, BitChute does not accept live streaming. I can't live stream on BitChute, but that's where my primary archive is. So everything I've done in the past 2+ years is on BitChute in chronological order. Also, there are playlists on BitChute, but you have to go up to the upper right and push the icon of I think it's my face there, and then there'll be a drop down menu, and then you can see where the playlists are. And Catherine Jumping Mouse has done a number of important playlists there it just is hard to find them. Whereas on YouTube, playlists are so easy and simple to make and navigate. But I'm not going to put in hours and hours of work building playlists on a channel that could just get taken down for on a whim one day. They decide to go back through all my old ones and find one they can strike, they'll get rid of it. And that's YouTube. So, but that's right, ECAT. That's a good idea to take it down right afterwards. Okay, thanks, Ezra. I think the work is important, and I hope I hope that I'm able to explain things that are obscure to people. I'm not so great in the sciences, but as far as history, politics, and the psychology of what's been going on, I think I've got uh, a pretty good message to share. And certainly seeing it through the lens of my dad's life makes it so clear that, they would take somebody who, okay, he's a good Catholic kid, he's a good athlete, he's obedient. Somebody in the family has ties with the Anglo-Saxon upper crust of Hartford, Connecticut, and he suddenly gets lifted out of the public school system and put into an exclusive prep school called Loomis, now called Loomis Chaffee, but Loomis Academy in Windsor, Connecticut, where he spent 4 years going to going to school, riding the train up from. I think he was living in New Britain at the time, but he rode the train. Most of the kids there were residents; they had dorms there, but he was a day student. Uh, in his last 2 years, he was joined by none other than George P. Schultz as a student who transferred there from the Hun School in New Jersey. Yeah, the Hun school. That's a pretty creepy idea, isn't it? And he came in to, he was also an athlete, and my dad and George P. Schultz were rivals on the athletic field. They played football, other sports, and were, you know, obviously colleagues and teammates as well as rivals. But the paths that George P. Schultz took and Tom O'Loughlin took were different in life. And while George P. Schultz's life extended 50 years longer than my dad's did, I think my dad's life, looking back on it, is richer and more important to study because when he had to face the moral dilemmas, he always came out on the right side. And he's the typical person that you would want to be a leader in this country, that you would want to have somebody of his, intellect as well as just internal strength, fortitude, compassion, courage, you know. And when he joined the FBI, it was all about the traditional values of fidelity, bravery, integrity. And yes, he got up to the upper levels, and there, of course, the rules don't apply. And he didn't last but a few years. But what he did, such as the story of TDY by Doug Valentine, in which he has organized and sent out a special team of U.S. Army and other personnel on a secret mission to catch the CIA and drug lord Vang Pao doing deals for heroin in Laos. And the fact that we were able to find that out and to contact and get in touch with Doug Valentine and have him identify that, yes, that was my father, that was Tom O'Loughlin's mission, to catch the CIA, to make them stop importing heroin into this country, poisoning us, poisoning our youth, desecrating the bodies of our fallen soldiers for stuffing it with bags of heroin. Somebody has got to stand up and say, stop. You can't do this in the name of the United States of America. And here we are, prodding this war in Ukraine. And, another excellent example would be Chris Fogarty of Chicago and Ireland, the great writer of The Perfect Holocaust and Those Who Kept It Perfect, the Ireland Holocaust, and telling the story of how it was the British Army that confiscated all the food. It wasn't a famine, it was a genocide. It was an Irish Holocaust. And it was an intentional. And it wasn't just an act of God. It wasn't an act of God at all. It was an act of the British Parliament, who then considered themselves to be abiding by the rules of laissez-faire because, hey, why should they intervene in a famine caused by God? That kind of perverse, egocentric, elite thinking is exactly what we're facing today. And people that think that they're living in a free country in the United States today are wrong. This country has been under their thumb for decades, if not a century or more, you know. And we can talk about when it started, but we have to recognize that at this point, we are under a blanket of totalitarian control that if we don't free ourselves now, we'll never, ever get free for 1,000 years. That's what I think. And I believe you probably agree with me. So, yeah, the work is priceless. Not because of me, but because of what we have. The work itself is priceless and it's got to be done. Rob TK says Rumble is getting better, and he says communists infiltrated every country way before 1800 IMO. I won't disagree with you, Rob. That's a interesting way to look at it, since they didn't call it communism back then. But on the other hand, totalitarian government is the same whether it comes from the left or the right. Once you get into that total control panopticon, there's no escape except through revolution, you know, blood, sacrifice, death, and nobody wants that. Brightmore Dinosaur, hello. Each crisis designed to further tighten the handcuffs. Yeah, it sure is. And designed is a key word too. Now what do they want us to go out and have a revolution because of the purported indictment of President Trump. And I see the Washington Post this morning. I don't read it myself, but my wife told me about a big article there with all kinds of lies about J6 in it, about 140 police officers injured. Get out of town, and five people died. It's a lie. And this is supposedly the banner of truth, the Washington Post. No, it's a CIA rag. It's total propaganda, and they're going to try to get good, honest, patriotic American people to go out and riot, just like they tried to do on J6. But I think we're on to them now, and these fake, you know, Pied Piper leaders, like the ones that stood out in front of a bank in New York and were pretending to be Trump supporters with signs that say, Trump is the president, Trump won, and stuff like that. But they were fake. And it was obvious they were fake because half of them were wearing face masks. And, and it just, no, Trump supporters don't wear fake masks. Come on. I mean, maybe some do. But no, not out in a public display where you're trying to purport, trying to get people to be mad, because those of us that are mad about the face masks as much as anything else right now. That's gets right back to what we started the show off with, Courtney Turner's horrific 2 years of trying to survive in a place where she's not allowed to take off her face mask, and she's not allowed to have people around her to take off theirs, just to allow her to see what they're saying. Um, it's psychological torture, and based upon big lies. Now, if that's medical misinformation, I doubt it. I think it's political information. It's truth. And if I lose McDuff Lives too because I said that just a moment ago, then so be it. But as Ezra said, McDuff has YouTube has a huge reach. But Ezra, if you can get onto the Rumble channel, please do, because you never know when YouTube's going to take me down, and we've got to have a way to keep in touch. So please do join the Rumble channel. McDuff Lives. Um, serious business, because you're right. It's crucial that we keep getting the information out. And thanks to each of you for supporting the channel. Um, we do have a Patreon. I appreciate if anybody wants to join it. I have to confess, I'm not very good at publishing stuff on Patreon. I should be better at that. But right now, again, just like everything else, I think the content itself is so important that that's where my time goes. I will put up as much, personal stuff and some occasional exclusives on my Patreon channel to thank folks for joining. Other than that, uh, I'm just going to keep doing the content, reading the books. I'll be reading the next part of Ordo Ab Chao at 11 o'clock on Monday. And then, of course, Wednesday evening, looking forward to a big revival of the Mark, David, and McDuff trio at 8 p.m. So join us then. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Keep on spreading the word about our Rumble channel. And we'll see you on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.